Hello and welcome to the Apex Racing League GT Championship, live on Apex Racing TV and live on the iRacing Esports Network. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick and alongside me is Adam Hedgecock, Sam Kumo on the cameras. And we are here for round 5 of the championship. We're into the second half of this 8-round season. And Adam, it is quite a special round for us. We got so used to in British GT and American GT, then GT1 and GT2. Finally, we are going to try a different format for tonight. Gone with the 2 races. We're just going to put all the action into one, and it also involves a reverse grid as well. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm looking forward to it.
Thoroughly excited about this one, Sam, and the drivers are too. All through the week, they've been saying how much they're looking forward to getting out on track and trying this new format. I love endurance-style racing. I think it's not necessarily easier, but it's you can get into a bit of a flow. You don't have to rush to make moves and that kind of thing, and your rewards can come a lot further down the line when you plan out a proper strategy. So yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing how these guys manage the time and their moves. And yeah, just like you, I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm excited to see what happens.
We will have a random safety car as well deployed between the 10 and 70 minute marks, or 10 and 60 minute marks, and that could certainly mix up the order as well later on in the race, so certainly do watch out for that one as well. But yeah, reverse grid order of the championship standings at the moment for the drivers who have taken part in 3 of the first 4 rounds. So a few drivers won't be eligible for that. They'll have to start from the back regardless. We will take you through your grid once this practice session is complete. But of course, no qualifying today, so we have just got 10 more minutes of practice to go before jumping into an 80-minute race. In the championship, it's same old story. It's Tom McMahon leading the way. I guess his mindset going into this round might well be a case of avoidance, avoid a bad result rather than necessarily aim for a big result. I'd still say he's the favourite to win today's race. I mean, the way that he's been able to get from the back to the front in just 20 minutes before he's got a full 80 minutes to do it tonight. But at the same time, there is double points available for this round, so he really needs to try to avoid the lap 1 wreck if he possibly can.
No, you're absolutely right, and we see him week in, week out doing the crazy back to front missions that he goes on in the race 2s, and he does it so well. So yeah, like you say, he's got 80 minutes tonight to plot his course through the field, and I don't think it'll be too long before we see him up at the sharp end. But you know, who are the pros around him are going to follow him through? Who are going to try and hold him up in the early runnings? Maybe play a little bit of a team game with other drivers just to try and hold him back for as long as possible. But yeah, it's fascinating to see him come through in 20 minutes. I can't wait to see what he can do in 80.
What type of experience do you have in the when it comes to safety cars, when it comes to the iRacing safety cars? Because you're more experienced than most of the drivers on the circuit. But have you ever experienced a race like this with safety cars? I mean, off the top of your head, do you know the safety car rules particularly well, for example?
So I've been involved in a couple of safety car incidents in the Touring Car League. For sure, we've had a couple in there. In the World GT, we've had safety cars there as well. And it's pretty much, iRacing does a great job. It will talk you through what you need to be doing, when pits are closed, when pits are open, that kind of thing. Where to get in line, you know, who to be following. It can be quite confusing. I remember when it first happened, I wasn't entirely sure what was going on and how I had to drive to avoid penalties, because you can pick up penalties. iRacing will penalise you if you overtake people before you're supposed to, if you enter the closed pit lane. A little bit of a weird one where it will do NASCAR style rules. So if you enter a closed pit lane, it will give you an end of line penalty, which is a little bit weird. But yeah, like I say, iRacing, it does a good job in talking you through it, and hopefully none of the drivers fall foul of it tonight, because I'm sure it'll be something new for a lot of these guys too.
Yeah, and of course with that safety car coming out any time between the 10 and 60 minute marks, the drivers are gonna have to guess their strategy. usually in these events, there's very much, all right, if you pit on this lap, then that is the fastest way to get to the end of the race. And obviously, you've got to take into consideration traffic when it comes to that. For example, maybe half and halving the race might be the fastest way, but of course, if you come into the pits early, gets involved in some traffic, then that could potentially hold you up later on, and it might not be the fastest way to the line. But today, it really is just going to be a lot. So you can come in early on and become very lucky, potentially. I mean, the whole field will be bunched up under the safety car before drivers are allowed into the pit. So if you pit just a lap or two before the safety car, then you're in the box. You jump pretty much everyone, as long as you stay on the lead lap. Jump pretty much everyone. So it will be a little bit of a lottery, and hopefully we have a good race. Of course, the reason why we're here at Road Atlanta is because next week we'll be taking part in the Petit Le Mans. Unfortunately, I won't be taking part. It's one of my favourite events. I love the IMSA events. I mean, Glen 6000 is the best, but Petit Le Mans is not bad either. And of course, these GTE cars will be taking part in that, so quite a lot of useful information for sure going to be gathered by the drivers. It's not qualifying right now out there, Adam, but Dennis Eifenberg on top at the moment in this practice session. A little bit of optimism for him, I am sure. I believe the BMW is quite strong at the moment. They are adding some weight to it come Petit Le Mans, according to iRacing. We're not running that BOP, we're just running the cars as they come in iRacing, no extra weight at all. And so potentially Eifenberg could be a proper challenge to McMahon. And that's kind of what he needs to do in order to close back that gap, because he's turning into a little bit of a Vita Kopska from last season, doing very well in lots of different races, but not really beating McMahon enough. I mean, it does come down to that, simply not taking points out of McMahon often enough, and ending up quite distant in the championship so far.
You're right, yeah. And the trouble is, you're putting in these fast times now. It's all well and good, but you can't do that when you're in traffic. And like you said, there is no real strategy. You can't play a strategy out because of that variable with the safety car. So get some clean air, great. Put those lap times in. It will do you well over the course of the race. But it means nothing if you can't get past the slower cars that will be in front of you at the start. If you want to pit early and give yourself some free air, that would be great. But then, do you take a second stop behind the safety car as well? Because if you don't, you won't have any tyres left at the end of the race. Do you leave your stop as close to potentially where the safety car is as possible and play it that way? It's all up in the air. It's take whatever strategy you want, throw it up into the air, get a big blowing fan on it, and just see where everything lands and see what's what at the end of the race. It really is. The strategy means nothing, and that's why I've been looking forward to this so much. It's that it's unpredictable because there are so many variables in it, and I just love that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've got a decent amount of experience with the safety cars. I mean, I've raced in DGFX, which is a very well-run series. I mean, often driving standards can be a little bit lower than that, but the safety cars and the admins, what they do, I mean, Carl Burney and Ed Voris do a brilliant job with the safety cars in that championship and have done for a few years. And it does just make it so much fun. I mean, I recall a race where I hit it, or my team, we were running in a lonely tent, and we pitted just with about an hour to go, and when the pace car came out 10 minutes later or 5 minutes later, we were in the lead. We were in the lead by like a comfortable margin. That's the type of thing that the safety car can do. Unfortunately for us, we barely had enough fuel to get to the end, so we did move down to third by the end with heavy fuel saving. But if you can come into the pits, for example, after half an hour into, or 20 minutes into this race, get within an hour of the finish, you come into the pits, then a safety car comes out soon after, you're absolutely in the boxes. So hopefully you see some drivers. Not sure if they will know so much about this. The safety car isn't really used a whole lot in European iRacing leagues, but we will see if they have got their thinking cap on and can go to the front that way. 2.5 more minutes left of practice, and then we'll line up on the grid and we'll start the formation lap. Dean Powell has been absolutely phenomenal in recent rounds, Adam, and he's really seemingly by far the fastest amateur driver. I mean, in qualifying in particular, he's been able to put quite a gap, but he just seems to be making too many mistakes at the moment, doesn't he? Does Powell? I just wonder if this could be the time for him to take that amateur championship lead. If he hasn't got it already, it's currently Cole's out in the lead, so maybe an opportunity for some of those amateurs to score some big points.
There is indeed. I think with Powell, this is going to sound really condescending, and I don't mean it in this way, but he's found a lot of pace very quickly, and I'm just wondering if he's got to that position too quickly, and he hasn't understood how to drive safely at that speed, if that makes sense. So he's putting in these phenomenal lap times now. He's getting these great results, but as you say, he's having these accidents as well. Now we could possibly blame Daniel Lee for that. You know, he's the one that's kind of coaching him and bringing him up to the pace that he's at. But yeah, I do wonder if now that he's got this newfound speed and can race harder for longer, whether or not it's just catching him out a little bit, maybe in some slower traffic that he wouldn't have been used to before, or the guys that are around him, recognize how quickly he is going now, and maybe just kind of making it that little bit harder for him, just defending that little bit more. And again, maybe that's catching him out. It could be a multitude of things, but spinning my dial, I'm thinking it's pointing directly at Daniel Lee, and it's all his fault.
Yes, hashtag playing Daniel. I like
Yes.
that. They have really improved. However, so I just want them to have more drivers, some more drivers, guys, and then they can actually fight for the championship, the team's championship. That is. At the moment, by the way, EVOS are leading the team's championship with 657 points. Vanguard Simsport with 576, and EVOS are green with 528. It was looking very close earlier on in the season. High Caliber got off to a great start in the championship. So too did Fuga Simsports Red. They've just fallen off slightly. M-Science UK in 6th position at the moment. 16 teams so far taking part in this season. So, as we wait to see if it's all worked or not. Here we go. That looks about right, doesn't it? The order. I don't know. I mean, we'll just go with it. Yeah. I don't think any of the judges will notice if it's totally wrong the grid, but I'm pretty sure it is. And we've got the Ford Mustang as well at the front. So, get ready for this grid. Here we go. Steve Brown, currently bottom of the drivers in the championship, who have taken part in 3 or more rounds of the championship. So he starts on pole position. The 037, Rob Winter starts alongside him. Emil Winbo starts, John Chester in 3rd. Emil Winbo, top of the pro drivers in 4th. He could be dangerous from that position. Nick Brown starts in 5th, then it's Derek Holland, Joseph Saul, Daniel Savo, Jensen Adjensons, Kevin Kitzman, Ryan Jones, Matthew Chambers starts in 12th. Maybe watch out for Chambers as well down there. And then behind them on the grid is Tom Bingham. Then it's Tim Perry, Tom Stevens, Callum Wright, Arthur Godzik, was former race winner, Max Wolf, Dean Powell, Adam Coles, Kev Copeland. Testament to Copeland how far he is up on the grid there. Jonas Bowden, Mark Hutchinson, James Salt, Chris Van der Nesse, Bob Humphrey, Daniel Lee, James Salt, Dennis Eipenberg, and Tom McMahon. Then behind him is all the drivers who haven't completed enough rounds in order to be on the grid. So behind that is Lundgren, Gordon, Edwards, who I think is taking part in his first race of the season, I believe. Andrew Becker, who's recently come back. Alex Moore starts in 36th. And Matty Chambers, is it? No, Aaron Powell starts in last. I think Chambers is all right, apologies. Aaron Powell starts from the back because he should have a pit lane start, I believe. So that is why he is so far at the back. So yeah, big pressure. We actually saw, I can't recall who it was last time out, Adam, a driver come into the pits on the formation lap. They were so overwhelmed by kind of the pressure of starting on pole position that they decided to come in. I mean, from my experience, in fact, I can't remember the last time I started on pole, so that's irrelevant. But hypothetically, if I could qualify, I'd rather start on pole than say 5th or 6th, because you kind of make your own race. You can try to pull away, and at least for these amateur drivers today, they kind of got amateur drivers around them, so they should feel a little bit more at comfort when they get off the line.
No, absolutely. I think it's better and easier to start on pole in these type of rolling grid situations, because you can choose when you want to go, and more often than not, you'll get the jump on whoever's starting alongside you, which should mean by the time you get to turn 1, you've kind of got it to yourself to a certain extent, and you can pick your own braking point, you can take your car in, and no hassle. If it was a standing start, however, I can understand people not wanting to do that, because if you don't get the start right, you're going to get swallowed up by everyone behind, and before you know it, there's a mass crash at turn 1. And yeah, I can understand from that point of view, but in this type of racing, sure, go from the front. At least you can say you led into at least one corner. I mean, that's got to be a good thing, right?
Absolutely. We have seen poor starts here in American GT in the past. Hopefully we avoid that. We also had a tricky start in the Petit Le Mans yesterday, but we are underway then. Steve Brown from the pole position, and 80 minutes of racing at Rose Atlanta is off. It's Brown from the pole. No changes so far for the major positions, and Brown actually pulling away at the moment. Chester versus Winter, very slow up at the moment for Rob Winter. He's just being shuffled down slightly, down into 4th place. Poor start for Wolf and Godsick. They seem to have been involved in something a bit further down the order, but unfortunately no big wrecks for the majority of the drivers. But yeah, great start for Chester, up to 1 place. Brown up 2 places into 3rd position. Also, so we're getting up a place as Nick Brown spins it round from 3rd position. Oh, what a shame it is for the Turkish driver, and he's going to have to let the entire field go. But that's what we see around the circuit. Such a tricky corner that, and he's paid the price.
He has indeed. Looked like he just got a little bit close to the back of Tressida coming down into turn 5 there. Maybe had to brake a little bit harder than what he wanted to, and just lost the rear end of the car. Easily done. There is a little crest there that can unsettle the car, especially when you run out wide onto that curve. But great start from the other Brown, from Steve Brown, currently leading the way. Tressida having a little look coming down towards 10A and 10B, but not really doing anything there, as Wimbo's making a move, and Civi Sabo's having a look. Little puff of tyre smoke behind some contact there, but yeah, everyone seems to be pretty well behaved so far, Sam.
Yeah, it's quite odd to just see this grid, and everyone's kind of having their own battles. I mean, the battle between Eichenberg and Legman, that could be for the race wins. All these battles matter at the moment. It's not just a case of moving your way up. You really want to be ahead of your rivals. And we've got off Winter, and I think Civi Sabo was being quite aggressive down into the chicane. It seems like Winter's the one who's lost it out big time there. And also Mark Jones now has, apologies, Ryan Jones is dropping off. So plenty of kind of small spins for these drivers at the moment, which is using them plenty of places to play them to the back of the general. Of course, the safety car later on might help them in that regard. As we've got a Bato car. Oh, that's one of the Vanguard SimSports cars, I think, into the wall. What was going on there? Was that wasn't quite Hutchinson, maybe Callum Wright, I think, was going into the wall. That was very odd. There was a snow car down the middle of the circuit, and everyone had to take evasive action. Yeah,
very odd. And we're seeing a lot of incidents now. We're only on lap 2, and there's incidents aplenty at the top of the hill. Some really bent steering there for Wright. It's all going wrong for him, isn't it? That's not good at all. Not what you want on the opening exchanges of this race. He'll pop back in the pits and get that sorted. As we look down the order, though, the guys who we kind of kicked at the start of the race, Dennis Eichenberg up 13 positions already. Tom McMahon up 10. A little bit of a slower start for Daniel Lee. He's only made 1 position so far, but our biggest mover is Jonas Bowden with 14 so far. We've only done, or on lap 3 now, 14 places gained already.
Yeah, so watch out for him perhaps being a contender later on. Just in front. Oh, that's going to be a tap, and is that going to be into the wall? Oh, that's a dozen saves in half a second. That
well
was
held, Tim Perry. Well held, Tim Perry.
How did he do that? Perry loses out then. Gosh. But he's going to try to keep this position against, but I think it's only a matter of time for Pacey. May as well let this one go. He has had some better performances as the season's gone on, as Tim Perry. And he does just let the BMW pass in the end. 15 places now gained for Jonas, but next up for him is Steve Brown. And then Derek Holland just beyond that of others. Luke McCowan is alongside Perry now. He's going to have to go the long way round. We've also got Powell making some moves just in the background. Okay, couldn't make it done, but Powell could lead there from Dean Powell. And he is up 7 places.
Yeah, nice move there from Powell. I don't often ask or put requests to Mr. Kuma, but if we could possibly see an onboard of Tim Perry through that I'd love to see what he was doing with the wheel. That was a pretty special save. But as you say, yeah, Bowden off and under is underway again, now up into 8th place, looking to really capitalise on the gap that he's got to the other front runners behind. We've seen him battle before, haven't we, with McMahon quite a bit. So interesting to see if he can get out in front, maybe chase down Tressida. Winbow, of course, we've seen how fast he can be on occasions. Maybe he's got a chance to create a bit of a gap while the others fight their way through. There's contact there with Brown. Does well to get it off the track, but the guys behind just about getting around it, but that could have been pretty awkward.
That's McCowan trying to go around the outside to turn 9, I believe that is. 7. They're all the same, don't correct me, please. He was trying to go around the outside. Oh, Eipenberg into the wall. I think that was by himself, but is there like some oil down there? Tom Bingham's dropped at the same time, must have been put off. What was that with Eipenberg? That just seemed like he locked the rear brakes, but that's something that you don't usually see in the GTs.
Yeah, maybe something caught his eye and he's just applied the brake a little bit too much, side by side there, and yeah, he just loses it on its own. Unless, of course, there might have been some iRacing contact. We can never rule that out these days, but it did look very strange and not what you'd expect from him at all. That was that's not an Eipenberg mistake, is it?
Absolutely not. Maybe worth these guys to. I wonder when they will come into the pits. Whether they'll immediately come into the pits once the pit window opens, or they'll just hang it out until a safety car occurs. We will wait and see. Of course, there will be a safety car between the 10 and 60-minute marks later on. Alex Moore is running in 27th place. I didn't quite see the corner of my screen for a second now. He's up in 7th place. Should be remarkable, saying that he didn't qualify for the reverse, and so he had to start behind pretty much everyone. So there were a few unlucky drivers down there, but we should turn up for a bit more races, guys. Salt has dropped down. Dear me, he is quite stationary. I think it's Salt's. There he is, down into 25th position now. Oh, and there's more contact behind. He is...
Bingham again.
It's like a graveyard, isn't it, with all these drivers around? We've got the Porsche around as well. Bingham involved in that one.
Oh no, we've got Steve Brown off onto the outside into the wall. I don't know what's going on down at the... steady, don't come back on the track like that. Managed to stop it. Yeah, not quite sure what's happening at 10A there. I mean, it's the heaviest braking zone on the circuit, but it's catching some drivers out. Now, here's a little bit of strategy, Sam. I've had a little bit of a think about this, and it suddenly dawned on me that as long as you stay on the lead lap, you're going to be back with the pack once the safety car goes in. Like after we've had our safety car, you'll be at the back of the pack. So in the case of Eipenberg, he's got some damage. Maybe he can just stick it out. As long as he doesn't go a lap down, he can do his normal pit as per, and then essentially have a second race once the safety car goes in, and then try and make up places then and go for positions at that point.
Could do. But at the same time, if he came into the pits sooner, then if the pace car came out 2 laps later, then he'd be in the boxing, because as long as he didn't drop a lap down, then he would be able to get back into the back of the train and then pass them when everyone else came into the pits. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a right way, but as we said at the start, it's all down to luck, really. McMahon up into 9th place, got past Dean Powell, who always goes up right to Powell. But for too long. This is what happened to Tom Bingham just a moment.
Oh. Sorry, there was some contact on the outside, but I don't know whether that was another spinning car. There was a couple that went off there, wasn't there? As while all that's been happening, Winbo is in the lead. When did this happen? And Chambers is up into second. Tressida was leading the way, but we're now back to it. And yeah, Winbo has got a bit of a gap over Chambers, and Tressida's down to third. When did this happen?
Well, he has been leading for...
Sorry, go on, Sam.
So, well, I was just going to say he has been leading for, I think, about 3 laps, but I missed it. I only saw that about a lap and a half ago, and I missed it, so I was just like, oh, I won't mention it then.
Was I concentrating so much on potential what strategies could be that I've just totally blanked what's been going on
Daniel
in the race?
Lee, Brown, and Gordon. How did Gordon get so far up the order? Anyway, Gordon's off the circuit. Yeah, Gordon was having a good race. He was up like 20 places, I think. Very much under the radar, and this is what happens to him and Daniel Lee.
Lee's just, he's coming way too hot there. Did the Fuga SimSport car. Caught Lee, he's going to be really frustrated with that one. Not going to be happy with that at all. Just trying to make a move on the car behind. Got his braking wrong, took out Lee in the process. Really unfortunate for Daniel Lee there.
We're starting to get a better idea of the order. It's still going to be a very different finishing order to what we have at the moment, but it's our best guess. At the moment, Winbo leading the way, Chambers in second place. Chambers has got podiums before. Winbo ever so quick at Road America earlier on in the season, hence why he is a pro driver, despite his iRacing being just about 1.5k. But he was promoted to pro after that, but has failed to put in many good results since then, as here comes Jonas Bowden down the inside. He's one of the favourites for this race. Now up into 4th place now. Had an awesome start to Bowden. Next up for him is Adriansons, which will not be easy in the sights. Kitzman as well, ahead of Chester. Civizabe still holding his own in 7th, and there's quite a lot of field spread in there. Of course, defending championship leader Tom McMahon in 9th. He is 12 seconds off the lead, albeit will be cancelled when it comes to the pit stops. Apologies, when it comes to the safety car later on. So that will mix the order around. Bowden, it looks like only a matter of time against Adriansons, who is another driver who struggled a little bit so far, is Adriansons. Hasn't quite built on his good pace from last season. Didn't win the amateur category, but still got the promotion just because he was consistently the fastest amateur driver in qualifying. And Bowden up into the top 3 positions now. And the driver who has won one race so far this season, race 1 at Road America to Bowden, and also was running in second place at Monza race 1 as well. Hasn't got too many podiums, just 3 podiums so far this season. He is up into the rostrum at the moment.
Yeah, nice move there to get the job done. Chambers puts in a lap at 16.8, which is a good second or so better than Winbo out in front. So he's really got the bit between his teeth trying to chase him down. They've got quite the gap now over Bowden, who's nearly 3 seconds back from there. So these two are trying to break away. Poor old Tressida, who was running high for the first few laps, is down into 6th now. Kittleman is the leading AM, who's now running in 5th. We've seen some solid drives from Kittleman recently. He seems to thrive on the more technical tracks, so maybe this could be a real strong one for him, and definitely in with a shout at the AM win.
Yeah, currently, what is Kitzman's best result so far this season? In fact, he's had a 29th, a 33rd, a 29th, a 25th, a 28th, a 25th, and then all of a sudden last time out Moscow went way down from 13th to 9th, so he hadn't scored a top 20, you'll see, in the first 3 rounds, and then gets 2 top 15s in last time out, so he's starting to get his championship back on track, here's Kitzman. But yeah, remember, double points for tonight. We have seen the full 120 be scored in the past. Also, normal rules when it comes to the off tracks, as that was made generous. So there's no team allegiances there or anything. But so just very respectful of the class driver of the field. As that also James Crouch should be just added, is gaining plenty of pace. He's up into 9th. But yeah, same off-track rules as normal. So if you get 0 incidents across this race, which I applaud you if you managed to do that, because a few people do it anyway in the sprint races, then you get a bonus point, and then for every 10 incidents you get 5 penalty points. That's something that the drivers will have to think about. If you get one, bouts of penalty points, that's not too bad, but I think some of these drivers will be eclipsing 40, to be honest, by the time that this race ends.
Could well be. Here's a little stat for you that your sheet won't show you. Kitzman has only finished outside the top 5 in the AM category in 3 of the individual races that we've had. Not rounds, races this season.
It's a good stat.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. I wouldn't know that. I usually just look at the overall stuff. I'm actually coming up with a qualifying graph for me to look at, because that'd be a good indication of people's pace. I mean, BSR, AOLTC, BSR, CC has had this for seasons, to be honest, but I want to make it myself, because I feel smart. And also, I mean, I did A-level computer science, and trust me, it hasn't served any use. And so the fact that I can use Google Sheets to a minimum level does make me think that 2 years was worth it. Matthew Chambers is into the lead, past Emil Winboat. That was an odd place to get it done, to be honest, but we have seen plenty of slides coming out of the S's section so far. And look at how Bowden's caught up to them really quickly on that. Last like Bowden was a second faster than these two. Winboat was held up for a little while, and they've also got, really, Chambers and Bowden. As long as we don't get a safety car in the next kind of 30 minutes or so, I can see them leading for a while, because they've got such a handy lead on McMahon.
Well, this is exactly what they need to be doing, though. Don't fight. Just help each other get this lead, because we know how quickly the likes of McMahon can be. I was going to say Ivanberg and Lee, but they've been struggling a lot so far. So McMahon is really the big front runner in this. But of course, as I've said before, the safety car is the big leveler, isn't it? Bring everyone back together. So they need to try and build a gap as much as possible, and then hope that the dice roll in their favour, so that they can maintain it. Maybe hope that McMahon gets caught out with an early pit stop, and maybe the safety car comes out afterwards, or vice versa, however it might work. Bowden's so much quicker there through turn 5, goes to the inside of Winbow, down into turn 6, the camber helping him up the inside there. Winbow just not defending hard at all, just letting him have it, and that's Bowden up to second.
Yep, so now the top 2 might be able to start pulling away for one another. Because Chambers is in the same team as McMahon, so it might be in his interest to battle Bowden for a while, but I don't think that'll enter his mind too much. I think Dean Powell recently got past Derek Holland for 10 and 11. So far, a few retirees, a couple of retirees. Rob Winter is out of the race. No, Rob Winter's back going again. He's revived. Remarkable. Robert Lundgren seems to be gone, to be honest, but everyone else is still running in this event. But we have got Bingham, Saul, Copeland, Coles and Winter all 1 lap down or more laps down. That's the big thing. You want to stay on the lead lap, as we see it in AOSC. Although it can be confusing, because when you have manual safety cars, as AOSC has, then they sometimes let drivers do the wayfarers before the pit stops are actually open, so it's very confusing with that. But on iRacing, I'm pretty sure you need to be on the lead lap in order to get the lap back before the pit stops are complete. Adjinson's in that 4th position, starting to come down a little bit out there. Still got some type outs. Nick Brown's just had a little bit of an off, so Nick Brown and Steve Brown were in 1st and 3rd at one point. They're now 30th and 31st. And last of the drivers on the lead lap at the moment. Chris Van Der Nesse, first time we've seen him on circuit so far. And he is in 13th place. He is chasing down Tim Perry, who continues to drop down. But Perry is up 2 places from his start, and I imagine he'll be quite happy with that.
I would think so as well. A lovely looking car. It's a beautiful paint job, if I do say so myself, but Van Der Nesse is having a little look, coming down the hill into 10A. He's going to have the inside line. Perry just giving him the room, not fighting that one, realises it's a long race and lets him go on his way. I've just done a quick look to see if I can see what's happened to Lundgren. He's no longer in the Discord that he was in, so I wonder if he's had some connection issues. Maybe.
Yes. Yeah, okay, yeah. I've just understood what you meant. I thought you just randomly like left the Discord server permanently.
Oh
So
no.
just abstain from today's event. But no, yeah, I see that. So, yep, issue for like, because he's supposed to get a fast repair. So there's not really much of an excuse to retire early. It's certainly not the defeatist attitude we support on Apex Racing League. Top 40 get points as well, and there's only 37 guys taking the crit, so you may as well go out there and get the 3 points. You do need to finish either 0, 1, or 2 laps down. I believe the threshold is opened up. Whoever made the rules, really smart guy, because this is working well. At the moment, Tom Stevens in 14th place. He's next up on the back of Tim Perry. Stevens only up 1 place, which would be a little bit disappointing for the pro driver. He was an amateur last season, was within touching distance of the amateur title last season, but missed the penultimate round of the championship. Had quite a poor last round of the championship as well, which enabled Kev Copeland to take the title from him, going for Pro Academy Sim Black. Well, watch out for Taj Edwards, who I believe this is his first meeting of the season. There's also Daniel Lee has just come into the pits, by the way. But Taj Edwards, I don't think he's done a race so far this season. He hasn't. So yeah, it is his first race of the season, which is nice to see Taj back as former race winner in this championship.
Yeah, I was delighted when I saw that he'd signed up. We had a few nice chats with him, didn't we, after some of the races last season. Gives it his all, but very competitive, shall we say, with those around him. He'll make sure that they know that they've been in a race. McMahon up to 5th, just getting past Kevin Kitzman, I've just seen flash on my screen. So he's definitely making his moves now, isn't he, into the top 5. But like I say, great to see Edwards back. Oh, he turns in so early, doesn't he, in 10A. Takes a lot of the inside curve. It's like he's never been away, Sam.
Actually, for Matty Chambers further up, I think Chambers was leading this race, but I just saw he had an off track. Not sure if it was like my screen just playing up or something, but actually he's got damage to the rear wing, so he's hit the wall as Chambers.
Off track for 4 seconds, I'm seeing, so something's happened, yeah.
Yeah. He is only 0.6 of a second behind Emil Winbo. He might be able to make up that position quite soon. So we see what happens to the EBSR green car.
Downhill through the S's, up into T5. Oh, bouncing the curbs, unsettling the car. It has. Oh, that's so unfortunate. I can say from experience, Sam, that is so easy to do. I'm sure you've had similar issues there in races gone by too.
I didn't see the replay.
So, did you not? Outside curb, bouncing the car, gets it a little bit unsettled. Interestingly, he hit the outside wall and didn't get speared to the inside, which was a new one for me. But yeah, that outside curb playing silly games with him.
Yeah, I've just seen it again now. Unfortunately, technical limitations for myself, but and mental limitations as well. Oh, God, you remember? Yeah. But I remember when me and Marky Babner did a commentary around here. Oh, as we've got it's not Powell. Powell's in the pits, but I think someone's quite slow on the inside track. Anyway, Dean Powell into the pits as well. But I've lost my. Me and Marky Babner, who is one of our worst commentators on Apex Racing TV. We were doing a commentary around here probably about a year and a half ago. I think it was the Apex Racing League 3.5 championship. We talked to, and he said, that corner will cause a bunch of mistakes, and everyone crashed there, pretty much. And every race you do around here, you will see at least one driver crash there. We saw it on the first lap for P3 driver Steve Brown, I believe. So, or certainly one of the Browns. So, he lost out, and we're going to see that a couple more times, I think, before the night is up. So Chambers back onto the back of Winbo. So far, the drivers who have come into the pits who plan to go to the end are Powell and Lee. I wonder if that's a little bit of a strategic option there, because by my calculations at least, they can go to the end of the race from here. They're still on the lead lap. If we get a safety car soon, they could really be in a good position.
Sam, get out of my head. I was literally looking at that on the timing tower thinking, right, when Sam's finished this bit, I'll do a little recap of who's pitting. But what we can see now is it's pulled the trigger. Maybe there's a few of the drivers were just hoping and waiting that someone was going to pit relatively soon so they can try and play out their own strategy. We've seen McMahon getting past Winbo now, Crouch right behind him. Adrian says this group has really kind of packed up together. Kittleman still holding on to the back of this group as well, so he's loving life at the moment, getting pulled along by the pros. You can see the gap that they've got behind, but McMahon up to third, and a plethora of drivers coming into the pits. Oh, there's a word, plethora.
Lovely words. You say there's a plethora. Saying many. So far, it's only been Al, Lee, and Humphrey into the pits so far. Also, Alex Moore as well, I think, coming into the pits. But I don't know about your definition of a plethora. I wouldn't call that a plethora.
Slightly less than a smorgasbord.
Lovely, but I don't think it's lander any more of these fantastic words. Let's go past that for the race.
I had alphabeti spaghetti for dinner, Sam. I apologise.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got all of these words now.
Yeah, well, that's what alphabeti spaghetti does, doesn't it? Did you actually?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
I don't think I ever had alphabeti spaghetti. I have, like, dare I say, grown-up spaghetti.
Oh.
Like to say.
How dare you? There's nothing wrong with alphabeti spaghetti and turkey dinosaurs, thank you very much.
I liked dinosaur ham as a child.
Oh.
Anyone who can relate to that one? Loved dinosaur ham. Shame that they went extinct, eh? Emil Winbay is on the outside at the moment of another driver, as we have a safety car. So on the 26-minute mark, we have a safety car, and yeah, that was a random number between 10 and 60, and this is what it decided. So, how's this going to change things, Adam?
I'm not sure. I wasn't expecting that. That's amazing. So we're going to see, first off, who's going to try and dive in the pits now, if they are able to. I'm not sure how the iRacing rules are going to play out with this, whether they can come straight in or not.
The lane will be closed initially.
For the first lap, is it for the first lap? Either way,
yeah.
Those that have just pitted are going to be laughing all the way to the proverbial bank, because they're going to be at the front of this queue. Why would there be a reason why a driver wouldn't want to pit under this safety car period? Would there be a reason?
Well,
I can't see it myself, but
if 50-50 come into the pits and don't come into the pits, then I think it might be worth staying out. If you're Bowden, because think about it, if lots of drivers come into the pits behind you, they'll all start holding each other up. Meanwhile, you can go race your own race, build up a bit of a gap, and then potentially storm through at the end with fresh tyres. That's what I'm thinking. That could potentially happen, as the safety car has now picked up Jonas Bowden. However, in Aussie Mix and Fix and in AOSC, it's always the sensible strategy that does well. When a pace car comes out, you pit under the pace car. Often we see drivers in Aussie Mix and Fix say, oh, it's only lap 3, I'll stay out for a bit longer. Yeah. Everyone else pits, and then literally everyone behind you has already pitted and can go to the end whilst you have to pit again, and it doesn't work. So you're very much reliant on what the other drivers do, if what they decide to do. But if everyone pits, then you do not want to be the only guy who doesn't pit, otherwise you're going to be screwed. But this is really good for M-Signs UK, and I'm surprised more drivers didn't come into the pits early. It's just showing the misunderstanding of the rules, such as the inexperience of these drivers in a race like this. I believe the leader after this will be Daniel Lee. Rob Humphrey will most likely be second. Then it will be Dean Powell, James Salt, and Daniel Silvi-Sabe and Dennis Eipenberg, providing that all of those drivers can get to the end of the race.
Well, yeah, that was going to be my next question and thought for the group was, can all these cars now get to the end on their fuel? They top up whatever they may or may not need to get to the end of the race. They should be able to, yeah, I'd imagine that they should. It's a fascinating dynamic, this. We need to do this more often, Sam. I'm loving this because usually when we have these conversations, we've got a pretty good idea of what's going to be happening. We can kind of commentate accordingly and we know the hot spots where to be looking, but this is cat amongst the pigeons territory, and it's brilliant. I hope the people that are watching this are loving this as much as I am, because this is totally new for this series, and it's brilliant.
So Bowden is coming in, so the pit lane is now open. So Bowden will come in, but Chambers stays out. Now, I think that's a big mistake there from Matthew Chambers. I think he should have come into the pits. We've also got Tressida staying out, but think about it. Bowden's going to come into the pits. He's only going to be like 5 cars behind Chambers, and Chambers will have older tyres and will have to pit again later on. So I think that's a big mistake. I think you've got to come into the pits in this situation. I assume Lee is now driving past them all. So Daniel Lee now leads the race effectively, assuming that Lee can get to the end of the race. He did pit on lap 15, which should be enough, but you can still see there's a decent amount of cars ahead of him. Well, only 4 cars ahead of him. So Lee moves up into 5th, and who's going to be first out of the pit lane? Bowden was stationary for a while, and Bowden's lost out. So Bowden was first in the train, but he's had too long a pit stop. He was stationary for 20 seconds. And that means that out of the drivers who have just come into the pits, Emil Winbo is now ahead, and Tom McMahon came out ahead of Bowden as well. So that's a massive mistake from the Hell Racers drivers. He was stationary for 20 seconds was Bowden, compared to Emil Winbo's 15.5 and McMahon's 17.3. When everyone's in a group like that, you cannot afford to be stationary for any longer than you have to be.
No, absolutely. I agree. I do wonder, thought just crossed my mind, I wonder if any of the drivers forgot to turn off their fast repair.
But does that use time?
No, but if you don't have any damage and you take your pit stop now and you accidentally take the fast repair, later on in the race, if you have an issue, you haven't got it.
Shout.
So I'm just wondering that. Eibenberg, did he go back in? He'd already pitted once, hadn't he, on like lap 5-ish, I think. Oh no, he's up the front. My timing tower is taking a while to
he's
sort
a
itself
lap
out.
down. He's a lap down, I believe.
Has he gone down? I thought he was still on the lead lap.
I thought he was on the lead lap, but he pitted on lap 19. So he pitted just before the pit, but just before the pace car came out. And so I think went a lap down. Bad news for him is that Chambers didn't come into the pits. If Chambers had come into the pits, he would have been way by. But I don't believe there's going to be any wave bars now from here on in, as we are back to green flag racing. And it's Matthew Chambers who's leading the way. Plenty of back markers in front of some of the front runners here, but it's Daniel Lee who is effectively leading this race and providing that he has fuel to get to the
Stevie Sabo's gone off and wide at turn 1, having some issues there. Is Sabo under this restart? Everyone else seems to be getting on just fine, trying to keep out the way at the top of the hill. Such a tricky corner anyway up there, and does well enough to stay out the way. Crash at the turn 5. Ryan Jones has gone round, just trying to hold the car out there, get out of people's way, let everyone stream by. Seems to have done a good job for now. Daniel Lee has got a move done. He is now up into 4th place. Oh, the rejoin from Jones just about got away with it. But Daniel Lee making moves already, trying to capitalise on the good fortune that's come his way. You see in the background, Powell making a move on Winbo, it looks like. Or is that Salt? One of the two. But Daniel Lee off and away, trying to track down the top 3 and trying to get himself an outright lead. Plunge down the hill into the last corner again. Bowden doing what he can to defend from crouch behind him, trying to Oh, sorry, just in front of him, McMahon, a couple of cars up the road. McMahon getting the jump in the pit stop window, up to 8th again. So having his pit stop out the way and running in 8th, it's looking good for McMahon at the moment. Everything kind of playing out for him, which is kind of typical of what we've seen over the course of the seasons, where he's come through these reverse grids. A little bit of luck thrown into some of the situations he's been put into, and it seems to play out for him most of the time, which is brilliant. But he's got in front of him now Dean Powell, who was talking about at the start of the show, found a load of pace, really holding up McMahon at the moment, probably trying to do a bit of a job for Daniel Lee a little bit further up the road. McMahon pulling out of the slipstream, pretty tough to outbrake around the outside as they go down into 10A. He's going to give it a go though. To the outside, Powell defending hard. Who's going to be latest on the brakes? It is Powell. Somehow he gets it onto the apex. Well done from Powell. Crouch getting a little bit of contact there from Bowden, possibly. Yes, it was Bowden. Just got him a little bit out of shape, but manages to continue anyway. But for now, Dean Powell doing a great job holding up McMahon. Up to the top of the hill again, through this little kink, probably the hardest corner and braking zone on the track. Just flicking it up through there. It's really, really tough, trying to cut the corner as much as you can without getting a slowdown or an off track. McMahon chomping at the bit. Apologies if you're getting tired of hearing me all the time. We do have a little bit of issue with Sam. Hopefully he'll be back soon. But for now, you are stuck with me. Yeah, apologies for that. Bowden getting a little bit wide coming out of turn 7. McMahon right on the coattails of Powell once again. This is a real test now to see how much Powell has progressed as a driver. How long can he keep McMahon behind? McMahon going to the outside once again. Bowden trying to follow him through. But again, Powell very late on the brakes. Cut the inside quite a bit there, manages to keep it collected, but McMahon is under pressure now from Bowden as they come round through the last corner once more. Crouch just in behind, watching this unfold, trying to pick his position. Bowden having a look to the inside into turn 1, but much later is McMahon on the brakes. Supreme confidence going through there, and what turned into an offense for him is now defense as he's trying to keep Bowden behind. Just checking the timing tower as we ride on board with Bowden, just seeing who else has had issues after the restart. We saw Sibi Sabo going round just after the restart. He's dropped down. Eipenberg is still down in 28th, a lap down. Everyone below him, so Moore, Copeland, Brown and Saul, they're all laps down as well. Emma Winbow, almost on the grass on the outside there. Having a good old scrap with Adriansons. Easy to turn your car around if you get the rear wheels onto the grass. It will spin you around, and from then on you're a passenger. Adrianson's running him to the right to the edge of the track. A little bit of contact. And that's Adrian's into the wall. Wow, that was a little bit unnecessary from both of them. Kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, as he just about stops it from getting back onto the track. Contact coming down the straight. It's a big wide straight, gents. You don't need to be running into each other like that. Dean Powell finally succumbs to McMahon into turn 1, and Bowden's going to look to see if he can make a move as well, going up the hill into turn 4 just before they come down into the S's. Bowden gets it done as well. Great driving there from Powell just to recognise the attacks. Crouch now right on the back of him as well. This has been a really tough opening to the lap for Powell, but somehow he has survived and is still going. McMahon now up to 7th. Bowden chasing him down. They've got a little bit of a gap now before they can get to Humphrey up ahead, but Salt just up ahead, but great moves there from McMahon and from Bowden. Tressida under pressure from Lee coming down into 10A. Lee pulls out early. Tressida has let him have that one. He's broken really early. Lee having the move kind of handed to him a little bit there. Now going to try and chase down Tom Stevens, who is up in 2nd place at the moment. Matty Chambers is still out front, leading the way, doing significantly faster times as well. a good 3/10 quicker than Stevens and Lee there. Wimbo having issues down at the last chicane once more, putting pay to the good effort that he was putting in. Unfortunately for him, a little mistake there has dropped him down a couple of positions, nearly 5.5 seconds off the track. Don't want to be doing that too often. Oh, who's that running wide? Now, Callum Wright, once again out on the grass, rallying it up and over the hill. Well done, sir. Gets it back on the track. No damage done there. Only a couple of places lost for him, and he's back underway. Looking now at Arthur Godzik in the thick of things, down in 16th place. Got Taj Edwards just ahead of him, and Max Wolf just behind. Pretty racy drivers, the pair of them. So he's not going to have it easy sitting there in 16th. You see just up ahead, Taj Edwards making a move there on Derek Holland. Pulls to the inside, going into 10A. Gets the job done. Holland recognises it. Oh, gets a bit of a wriggle on, trying to give him the space, but filters back in behind him. And that's another place for Taj Edwards, who you'd never believe that he hasn't raced for any of the rounds this season so far. Looks like he hasn't been away, getting stuck right in. Hutchinson having a little look now, a little battle in this group. Holland just up ahead. Hutchinson makes a move around the outside of Wolf there. A lovely little move that was. Godzik and Holland just up ahead of them now as we go down through the S's and up into turn 5. See how much the cars bounce as they go over that curb. You have to run that curb. That is the fastest way round. The trouble is it can unsettle your car, but somehow these drivers manage to keep it all together, following each other so close, and yet again they are nip and tuck as they come down the back straight. Best overtaking opportunity on the track. Try getting in the toe. See Daniel Lee around the outside of 10B there on Tom Stevens. That's a move and a half there from Daniel Lee up to second place now. That half a second he lost on that lap to Chambers though, so you can see how much it does affect you when you're trying to get past. He has got some free air now though to try and catch. 5 seconds up the road to Chambers, and certainly going to give it a go is Daniel Lee. Maybe if Sam was here, I would say to him, maybe this is the one for Daniel Lee, Sam. Maybe this is the opportunity that we've been waiting for him to get his first win in the series. That was really hopeful. I was hoping that we was going to hear from Sam. He is still having issues with his Discord at the moment, so it's such a shame, but hopefully he'll be back with us soon. Hopefully I'll be able to throw something like that to him and we'll be able to hear his voice again, but at the moment you are still stuck with me. Look at this gaggle back. McMahon, Salt, Bowden, Tressida in there as well. Almost 3 wide as they come down to 10A. McMahon having a look on the inside there, manages to get the place down up to 6th place. Bowden seems to be attached by a piece of string at the moment to the back of him, following him through wherever he goes. That puts Crouch has followed them through as well. That puts Tressida down to 9th, with Powell just behind him in 10th. They are the lead AMs at the moment, with Kittelman in 3rd in the AMs, down in 12th. Not too far behind either, so we've still got a race on for the AMs, which is brilliant to see. Tressida started off so well in the beginning of this race, and just lost a few places, almost freight trained a little bit by some of the quicker drivers, but holding his own once again inside the top 10, which is brilliant to see. And to be honest, anytime we see AM drivers in the top 10, it's a testament to them, and a stellar performance, absolutely. But Tressida for now 9th place and holding his own.
I don't know about you, Adam, but seeing Daniel Lee out in front, you do question, I mean, could this be the one? Did he break his ducks and win the race? It's could happen.
Welcome back, Sam. I've never been so nervous in my life. It's good to hear your voice again.
Well, it's nice to hear someone say that. But yeah, I mean, Matthew James is doing a good job at the moment. I've watched a little bit. Apologies, everyone, for the delay, but I'm sure you quite like the little break. Usually do have a break in these races. So I'm sure you enjoyed the break. At least I could deploy the safety car. Jeez, imagine the controversy and the conspiracies if I can deploy the safety car in time. Just going a little bit wide there was John Tressida. And is he going to leave that place to Dean Powell? No, he just had a lot of tyre screening as we started to ride on board with Tom McMahon. And he is up into 6th place. Of course, apologies. McMahon is somewhere out there anyway, he's in 6th place. Anyway, I'll pass over to you.
Wimbush had another spin. I'm not sure it was a break, Sam. I think the viewers had to tolerate me for a few laps there, and I won't call that a break. And speaking of breaks, Emil Wimbo can't catch one. He spun it again on the exit of turn 5. He's having real issues. It's something that we're a little bit synonymous with him at the moment. Oh, he's having another spin as well. I wonder if he's got damage on that car, maybe. But we've seen it outright pace. He's blistering. He's fire, he's really, really quick. But he does have a lot of mistakes in him, it seems, and tonight is no exception. McMahon with Bowden still attached by that string to the back, although Bowden's trying to fend off Humphrey, who's trying to do a job for his teammate there, just trying to occupy Bowden for a little while, just to give McMahon a little bit of breathing space. But Bowden, yeah, he's purely focused, like laser beam concentration on the back of McMahon, not wanting him to get away from him. Salt just ahead of him as well, so he really is in this Evo SR pack, kind of fighting all of them in one go. But no, I'm absolutely with you, Sam. Daniel Lee, is this the opportunity? Is this the chance? Is this that random factor that we've spoken about so many times that he needed just to get that win? And if he does do it today, could this be the first of many? Oh, wouldn't that be a thing?
Oh, what championship comeback that would be if you go win the championship after not winning any of the first 8 races of the season. That's 120 points for him. It would certainly be some way to break the duck, as victors say. John Chester had a little bit of an off. Chester still yet to hit. Undoubtedly, I mean, I think we knew beforehand this week that it was better to hit. And Chambers is doing his best. And oh no, yeah, I think that looks like damage for Chester. He hasn't used his fast repair though yet, so he should be able to get that done. Of course, something that I hadn't have thought of is that you've got to take the tyres and fuel separately. So why would you take tyres? Unless you're like right at, if the safety car came out after like 55 minutes and you're right at the back, maybe you do take tyres. But for everyone else, don't take tyres because that's going to be such a lot extra. So even if you do pit later, there's no advantage because you're going to be running the same set of tyres at the end of the race. Unless you're insanely brave, unless you really think that you're going to be able to get the payback later on. But no one took tyres under the first pit stop. So apart from maybe John Gordon potentially, he did have a very long pit stop earlier. Well, he has actually gone to the pits twice, as Gordon. So, but James Salt having a little bit of a tough time. This is with Bowden, and that is Salt spinning round and losing a couple of places.
When I saw that unfolding, I kind of thought, you're pinching each other unnecessarily there, and from what we saw, it kind of maybe Salt was to blame a little bit there, and maybe got his comeuppance. Oh, we've got a big one at it's at the exit of 10B, isn't it? Oh, we're having a little merry dance around. Arthur Godsick there. Who was that with him? Wolf with him as well. It looked like there was a trio there that got into some strife coming down into the heavy braking zone of 10A and 10B.
Yeah, Wolfie had a problem on the first lap of the race. Still, top 20 wouldn't be too bad for Maxwell. Fortunately, we took qualifying out of play for him today, so yeah, I had a bit of a better chance, but this incident has certainly held him up.
It has, yeah. Max Wolf just getting a little bit squirrely under braking, carrying a little bit too much speed into 10A. just about rescued it into 10B, but was going so much slower than Godzik behind him. Godzik had nowhere to go, trying to carry the speed as you would do normally. He ended up clipping the back of him, spinning him round. Unfortunately for both of them, it took them both out of contention at that point. Really hard one to call out. A little bit of a racing incident, I think, but it's a shame. You can see how hard the drivers are pushing to make these moves, and when it plays out like that, you kind of wonder, why did I make that move in the first place?
Definitely. Here comes Wolf again. In and out, at least for me, but he's going around the outside and getting the inside for the second part of the corner. Such a fantastic section of corners this at Bowden, and through the chicane you so often see this side by side down the hill, and it's so narrow on the exit as well there. Godzik doing everything he can. Meanwhile, McMahon's gone up to third, but we'll stick with this battle for just a little bit longer. That was nothing between the two guys there. Godzik, though, still ahead. He's in 19th place. But yeah, Tom McMahon up into third position now. It's just important because he's put another car between him and Jonas Bowden. And McMahon now has 7 seconds to catch up to Daniel Lee. What is the effective lead once Chambers makes his stop later on? Godzik still under huge pressure from behind. And Wolf is going to try to just get the outside. This isn't going to help their pace too much. They're a little bit by themselves at the moment. They've got 6.5 seconds up to Tim Perry further up. I hope they'll catch up to later on. And they're also inviting Derek Holland onto this one.
Yeah, Derek Holland's going to have a big old smile on his face looking at this, isn't he? You can see how hard these two are fighting each other. He's sitting there thinking, well, you know what, you guys keep fighting. I'll sit here and wait for you to take each other out again, and I'll have 2 positions, which will be lovely up inside the top 20. And for Derek, he'd be absolutely delighted with that. Oh, look at the state of his rear left wheel arch there. He's had some serious contact at some point. It's hanging off. Wow, look at that.
Still no new damage model for the GT cars, but they have kind of been slowly rolling out kind of detachable parts. You can detach the rear wing now, which is something that you couldn't do certainly probably a year ago. But hopefully we'll have that in the next build. So new damage model becoming a thing about a year ago. It was just over a year ago. The 2019 season 4. Still quite a few cars yet to have it. Certainly the single seats that don't have it is a little bit annoying. But also, of course, the new Corvette not having it. No Corvettes in this series. We're not going to be having them to the end of the season. But of course, next season in the GT Championship, that will be an available car. Andrew Becker having a very good run at the moment. He's up 19 places. He's another driver who started so far down. Is so far down in the championship because he only took part in the last round of the season. He had to start right at the back, too much behind even some of the top drivers. So you wouldn't know that at the moment. 16th place would be a good one.
It would be. He's certainly smashing this one, isn't he?
I've used that one before.
Oh,
so
I don't do tennis. It's when I think about it, I get all proud of myself, and I think I'll throw that one in there. I'll toss that one out, and shot down.
Yeah, certainly a shank. No, I find it really tricky, to be honest, to figure out the ones. I don't want to Google any because that's not very original. Stevens is down into 6th place now. He's just been overtaken by both Bowden and Crouch. That's about petering out. Have I used that one already?
Yeah, we done that one. We also said that he was head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah. Same. I'm sure he'll be stoked that he's just made up that place.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I approve of that one. Yeah, that's good. Bowden. You don't want to be overtaken down through the S's, even if it is on a slower car. Wow. You've got to have supreme faith in the drivers around you. Steve Brown doing everything he can to get out the way of the drivers there, letting them through. But yeah, any passing through the S's is a little bit of a no-no for me. It's just too many things can go wrong down through that little group of corners, Sam. It scares me going down there on my own, let alone trying to overtake someone at the same time.
C7 DP was decently used. I used to love passing GT traffic and GT traffic in that corner. Would do it all the time. I think I probably was absolutely hated, but that was my biggest skill. In terms of pace, I'll always be starting at getting past particularly very slow cars like Porsche Cup cars, where at one point in the IMSA Championship, I'd absolutely ace my way through them, no regard for them, and it would buy me a bunch of time. But no, unfortunately that car, not so much a thing, but of course it can drive the new Lara P2, which I've done a few laps in, and it is very good. It seems like it's gone down very well in the iRacing community, and about time that we do have a P2 and a DPI on the service. It's not technically DPI, I think, but it's same. John Gordon and Mark Hutchinson in 15th and 16th. The old-timer versus one of the rookies. Hutchinson, his first season, but he's driven very responsibly so far for Vanguard Sim Sports. He does look fast on that last lap. He was also the second fastest in the car, and matching some of the front runners as well.
He is indeed. Now, this is a very draft-heavy track, so I just wonder if that's the draft coming down the back straight from Gordon ahead of him just helped him pick up a little bit of pace. But we know, as you say, Gordon's a stalwart figure within this racing league. He's been around for a fair while, so he knows all the tricks. He's not going to be easy to get past. He will defend as hard as anyone out there, which is always good to see. So just going past Dean Powers, he got issues.
Yeah, he had a bit of an off just a moment before. I saw him lose a bunch of places, and he's actually hit the wall. So I wonder if he's gone through turn 7 and dipped a wheel onto the grass on the outside and then spun into the inside wall. And that will hopefully, as you were saying earlier on, Adam, I mean, drivers will use their faster repairs potentially a bit earlier. Is this with Brandon Nesse? Powell has done exactly what I thought he had done, just dip a wheel onto the grass. Would that be? Yeah, it was Brandon Nesse in 8th place. So that's a shame for Dean Powell. He, remember, did the perfect strategy. He was up in effective 2nd place before, and he's actually stopped in the middle of the pit lane. Maybe he's overshot his pit box. Tom Stevens coming in for in fact, his one and only pit stop. He didn't pit under the safety car. Stevens finally comes in 20th place. Not too bad for Stevens, but way further down than what he should be. I'm trying to think of some content comfort. Usually I'd say, oh, he's got some fresh tyres now, so it's like, but he didn't take new tyres. So yeah, mistake there for Tom Stevens.
Not his finest moment. We've just got just a smidge under half an hour left to go. Where has this 56 minutes gone? That has flown by. Matty Chambers still out in the lead. It's still being chased down by Daniel Lee. You can see him just in the background. There's the car of John Tressida just between them. A lap down, of course. But Chambers is the man out in front at the moment. McMahon in 3rd. He has closed the gap a little bit on Daniel Lee. I'm just looking at the last lap time, so 2/10 out of him last lap, but it's still a significant gap, around 5 seconds back. So still got some work to do, has McMahon, but Daniel Lee, he can see the win in front of him. Of course, Chambers still needs to pit, doesn't he? So effectively he is driving as quickly as he can to just try and keep that gap to McMahon as big as possible, and hope that there's no traffic that kind of comes between him and that checkered flag.
The gap has come down. It was 7 seconds when McMahon got up to 3rd. It's now down to 4.8. I think, I wonder if Sam Puma could actually get the gap graph between the two of them. We don't usually show this graphic too much, but it kind of shows the gap over time, and that's not that much, is it? Well, half a second on that lap, but that was partially because Lee had to overtake some traffic. And yeah, that was.
Oh, there's the chart.
I love a good chart, eh?
Yeah.
And yeah, 5 laps, and it's gone down by just over a second. Obviously, it needs to be more than that. We're gonna have, it's quite a quick lap around this circuit, so we're gonna have about maybe 16 more laps of this race to go. So he needs to start closing in by about 0.3 of a second a lap, which is very possible. You could definitely do that. You could definitely close in by 0.3 of a second. So it's very much it's partly in Lee's hands, probably mostly in Lee's hands, but it's also much in McMahon's hands as well. Could get a very exciting end to this race, and as you were saying before, lots of traffic potentially, albeit for the next fifth of a lap, they're all right. I am seeing Godsick, Stevens, Holland, and
Chambers in the pits.
Eichenberg further up, but that should be all right as Chambers finally comes into pits. He's pretty much maxed out that fuel. He's done as well as he could have done, Matty Chambers, but he will now drop to probably about Tim Perry range in 15th.
Yeah, that would be about right. I'm not sure how the laps will play out, but he might have just got himself the most laps led in this race, possibly. By the time it's all said and done at the end, he might have led the most, which is certainly an accolade, isn't it?
Well, I was about to say, you say that as though that matters.
Well, it would matter to me as a driver, and I'm sure you would be pretty happy with that as well. Thinking,
No, I'd be
I think
annoyed.
really.
I'd rather win. I'd rather win a race and not lead a single lap until right at the end, than lead every single lap. I'd want some. Yeah, maybe I'm just such an edgy individual. You know me.
One of those.
One of those, eh? But no, I'd hate that. I'd rather not lead at all if I'm not going to win.
Whenever on the odd occasion, I've managed to lead a lap, I've always come away thinking, you know what, I led a lap tonight. That's well done me. I deserve a cornetto.
I mean, yeah.
I just take wins where I can get them, mate. That's
in some motorsports, you do get a point for leading a lap, don't you? Is it NASCAR that you get a point for leading a lap? So I think that's where that kind of originated from. But, yeah, I'm not too into that one. Jonas Bowden is being caught by James Crouch. James Crouch under the radar, but great drive from James Crouch so far in the 111 machine. Vanguard Sim Sports, very competitive team in this league, making their debut this season. And you can see Crouch is up 25 positions at the moment, and has constantly been kind of chasing down Tom McMahon. There's a bit of a gap between them now, up to 6 seconds between them, but Crouch has made his way through the traffic very efficient. I'm seeing some damage on the front of that car, but I'd back him against Bowden to maybe make this move. It's a tight battle for P3. It's strange that, I mean, we've had a little bit of a lottery effect today. We've had quite a lot of crazy stuff, and yet we've got the same old faces up in the top 6.
We have indeed. And it's amazing how much McMahon has pulled away from Bowden. Not so long ago, Bowden was attached by a shoelace to the back of McMahon's car. McMahon just couldn't get away from him, but now he's dropped right off. A good 6 seconds between them. So yeah, it's really. I don't know whether that's he uses tyres up too much, and he's kind of feeling the pain a little bit now of that. But Crouch, as you say, yeah, he's done this before though, hasn't he? As Crouch, he just goes about his business, doesn't make any big noise about what he's doing. I mean, we look back at some races and we think, oh yeah, that guy was exciting to watch. We saw these outrageous moves that he was making. He had into Crouch. He just goes out there, drives his race, and seems to get results, which is brilliant for him. And tonight looks like it could be another one.
We're yet to talk to James Crouch, I believe. It'd be very useful to, because it's always nice for us commentators to be able to put a voice to a driver, a voice to a name. Because, like, for example, Daniel Lee and Tom McMahon, we've chatted with those guys so much, we kind of know them quite well, whereas James Crouch, it's very kind of difficult to really keep track of a driver. They are just a name out on circuits. But yeah, hopefully we'll have a chat with him. We've also chatted with Jonas Bowden so far this season. The Swedish driver, I believe he was one of the Scandinavian drivers he swore during our interview. So that was a terrible Road America round where the Swedish drivers and the Norwegians and the Danes all did terrifically, but they have no manners. Manners to those people. So Bowden still clear of Crouch at the moment. Half a second between him. In fact, actually, the other gap's really opened up. It's the only battle out in the circle, which is rather surprising. We've struggled to keep you up to date with all of the other battles going out on circuit throughout today's event. And then all of a sudden, there's a bit of a vacuum out there. But hopefully it will, it definitely will close up near the end. And of course, the race lead will be the one to watch later on with just 15 minutes to go, 3.6 seconds in the lead. And Crouch getting that gap down to 0.4 of a second at the moment between third and fourth.
You'd never believe that there was all these gaps out there. You look at the track map up in the top right of your screen, and everyone seems to be pretty close together. But unfortunately, they're not actual battles going on at this moment in time, which is a real shame. But yeah, Crouch is the one to watch at the moment, isn't he? He's the one making the big plays now, trying to put Bowden under pressure. And McMahon another 0.2 quicker than Lee that lap. Now that Lee doesn't have traffic, he's managing that gap a little bit better. A couple of tenths here or there from McMahon once again, but not enough. Definitely not enough. He needs to be taking a lot more out at this point in the race to really put pressure on Lee. Here's a question, Sam. Taj Edwards, is he really an AM, or is he back with the pros?
He will be a pro this season. It was a bit of a late entry for this round, so unfortunately we can give him that pro rating. So Kitzman is top of the amateur drivers. So of course Edwards, former race winner in this championship, won at Le Mans last season. Was a little bit of a disappointing, or very disappointing end to the season. I think he will regard. Top the first half of the last season, it was a good third place behind Becker, and McMahon, and then the second half of the season, just a few penalties involved and some poor results, and he couldn't get back onto the top step of the podium as well. But no, he is certainly a pro driver and has done a pro job at the moment, up 26 positions into 8th place. Humphrey being caught by Salt. They are teammates, of course, but so evenly matched on AT. Before Salt was, I don't know if you remember, Adam, of course, you took part in American GT, albeit not in the same class as those two. There used to be a bit of a gap between Salt and Humphrey. Humphrey's improved so much in recent seasons. And now this season, that you can guarantee that they're going to be on the same piece of circuit.
Absolutely right. I think they're the sort of team where they don't leave a man behind. They will try everything they can to help all of their drivers progress, and ultimately they'll end up sort of all around the same sort of pace. And we've seen that with Salt, with Humphrey as well. I mean, Humphrey's always been pretty quick. I mean, even as an AM driver, he was pretty quick, and now he's in the pros. He doesn't look out of place at all. So yeah, I think they do a lot of work together as a team, and it really shows. It pays off. You don't really see too many incidents kind of in and around them that you think, oh, that was a bit dodgy. You shouldn't be doing that. They seem to go racing in the right way, and they certainly get the results, and it's great to watch them do it. I absolutely love watching them.
Here comes
no team orders
down the inside. I don't know if there's any team orders, but that looks fair enough. Easy, fair. Salt up into fifth after a poor start from James Salt. It's just what he needed, of course, after winning Motorsport Race 2. Finally got that first Apex Racing League GT win. Could well see another winner straight away. Daniel Lee, he's got a 3-second gap. It's a constant. It's a constant. If you want to draw a nice linear graph, then go ahead, because that is what this gap at the moment is. It's down to 0.3. It's constantly going down by about quarter of a second a lap on average, but on that last lap only 1/10 faster on Tom McMahon. So that's strong, very strong from Daniel Lee. There was just some changes of position just ahead of these guys. I think Luke McCowan has just got past Kevin Kitzman, perhaps, and they've also got Chambers as well, who came in really late. Chambers came out of the pits. Oh, sorry, that was Stevens, wasn't it? No, so yeah, Chambers came out of the pits, not too far down. Remember, we ought to be around kind of Crouch, Salt, Humphrey level. I think this race around Bowden as well. If you come into the pits under the safety car, but he's trying to recover some positions, and 11th would be good. He's next up, got Kevin Kitzman ahead, and him and Aaron Powell with an awful start as well, and started far down the order, did Powell. They are making their way up, and also we've got Jones and Moore now off the circuit. They are one lap down, but they were battling one lap, so just colliding this one.
It does indeed. Chambers won't be too disappointed, I would imagine. I would think that most of the Evo SR guys will be thinking, yeah, top 10 this evening will be a great result for us. Aim for top 5, get top 10. That will be a good job done, given the quality of other drivers that are within this league. So I don't think he'll be too disappointed. Currently running P11, as you say, he's trying to chase down Kitzman, although Kitzman did do a blinding 17:10 last time round, which is pretty decent by his standards. Matthew Chambers an 18.5, so he obviously had issues. Interestingly, out front, Lee and McMahon are both in the 15s. The only other driver that was running in the 15s is Dennis Eipenberg, who somehow got himself to 20th place, which is still a gain of 10 after all of the adventures he's been on today. He's still inside the top 20, so fair play to Dennis Eipenberg.
Yeah, so, on the lead lap. How did he get back onto the lead?
I don't know.
He was behind Chambers, wasn't he? And Chambers came into the pits. So that's how he got the lap back. I feel bad for Dennis Eipenberg though, because if Chambers had done the sensible thing and come into the pits when the safety car came out, Eipenberg would have got the lap back and he would have been able to drive down to the back of the train. But instead, he had to stay a lap down, and that really did make things poor for Eipenberg, who may well drop down the standings as well. Came into this round second place. Certainly Crouch will get past him. Lee, if Lee wins, Lee would get past him. Also, Humphrey, Van der Nesse might get past him. Salt and Bowden as well. So he might be down into 8th place. Bob second place going into this round. Such is the big points available for this special enduro events we have. And I think the way that it's gone, I think we'll have something similar in the future, maybe with a few format tweaks, but we will see. There is the race leader, nearly a lap ahead of Dennis Eipenberg, and the gap starts at 2.4 now. Fastest lap, personal best lap of the race for both of them. 15.7 for Lee, 15.66 for McMahon. That is a gauntlet set down there by Daniel Lee. I think McMahon's just got held up by a little bit of traffic as well, just behind. But this is a perfect joint now for Lee if he wants to win his first race in Apex Racing League GT. He's got to drive perfectly, and that is what he's doing at the moment. Of course, the track's cooling. He starts it off in afternoon weather. I believe he'll be up down to about 5 in the afternoon now. In fact, 5:30 in the afternoon, so it is getting quite late. And the drivers will be getting a little bit more grip, even though their tyres will feel quite ancient when.
You could see how McMahon was really pushing, let's say, coming down the start-finish straight. He was about half the straight away from the lap car in front of him, and he was already flashing his lights, letting him know, I'm coming through, I'm trying to race for the win here. You need to get out of my way, and you need to do it early. But Daniel Lee is doing what he needs to at the moment. He's keeping it 1/10, 2/10, the occasional 3/10, but McMahon isn't making the gains that he really needs time-wise. 15.7 for Lee that time by 15.9 for McMahon. So he's lost a little bit of time that time by. Oh, it's going to be tight. It's going to be really, really tight. Now, here's a question for you, Sam. Do you prefer to be the chaser or the chased? Which makes you go faster?
Basically, definitely chasing. I mean, I used to do karting at a young age, and I think well, I don't know if it's a kid thing or what, or in karting, but you drive way faster when you're chasing. It's insane. It simulates less to an extent, because I think you've got to be a little bit more careful in a simulator. You've got to pick your points a little bit more. You've got to be a bit more precise than in karting. But still, certainly the case, you do drive faster when you're second place, and that might get into Daniel Lee's mind. He cannot afford a mistake, and it's so easy to make a mistake around this circuit. And if he does just start driving at 70% rather than 90%, that could be a couple of tenths a lap, and McMahon will be onto him. McMahon better lap this time after that poor lap 55, 56, crosses the line. Unfortunately, my screen isn't updating, but I assume he's taking a couple of tenths. Yeah, they go 3/10 of a second faster. But he needs that now, and a little bit more. He needs about half a second lap, and he's going to catch a pass.
He does. He's rapidly running out of time. Less than 7 minutes to go. He definitely needs a good half a second here, half a second there. He's looking at Hutchinson and Powell at the moment. Hutchinson going to the inside for 10A. Can he get it slowed down enough? Yes, he can, but Powell fighting on the inside, trying to keep that position. Hutchinson's going to have the run round outside. The better momentum as they come down onto the straight, and he gets the position just before they come to the start-finish line. Great move there from Hutchinson. Still looking for a top 10 possibly. Chambers is off the track again. Where is Chambers?
Where is Chambers? Well, he's still ahead of these guys. Must be a very quick off track. Stayed ahead of Kitzman.
5 seconds he was off the ground.
See what his lap times are. It's actually how much it cost him, but he's now under pressure from Kitzman, and you don't want to have Kitzman and Hutchinson and co catching you down. Oh, why is Chambers going so slowly there? He's just let Kitzman pass. He doesn't have that much damage, does he? After having a quick circuit off the track. And now you've got Hutchinson nipping on his heels. By the way, Lee and McMahon on that last lap matching one another. It's 2.2 with just over 5 minutes to go. Or 7 seconds, remember, at one point. Hutchinson glancing to the inside. No way through on the Porsche. And Kitzman is going to have such a tricky end to this race. Remember, top of the outer grass, don't take too much notice of the blue on Edwards' position. Kitzman is top, and he would love to score those points. And of course, with a poor round for Dean Powell and a couple of the other top runners, Kitzman could get himself back into championship contention with a strong result here. 2 seconds now, so this has been a good lap for McMahon. I think he may have taken upwards of half a second out of Daniel Lee. And once you get within about a second, the draft starts taking effect. Don't say it might even be 0.6 of a second. Lee, is it going to be another personal best, or is it a bit slower? It's a 16.0, so yeah, half a second faster again. Wasn't a bad lap from Lee, but personal best again for top McMahon.
Isn't it? It's amazing how McMahon can do this. Like we see it every week, don't we? In the race too, he just seems to find these lap times right at the end of the race when he needs them most. When he puts the real pressure on. We're seeing a nice little battle now. Powell, Hutchinson, and Chambers all going at it, going down into 10A. Seems to be the favourite place for overtaking. Chambers keeping the front out. Oh, Powell almost going into the back of Hutchinson there. Manages to keep out of his rear diffuser. And they sort themselves out as they come back up to complete another lap. Less than 4 minutes to go, Sam. Oh, it's crunch time. I love it.
Of course, Kitzman losing out to all of these drivers. I don't know what Kitzman did earlier on in the lap. He lost 3 positions very quickly in the first half of the last lap. McMahon, by the way, on this lap, not making much of an impression. He's only gained about a 10.5 on this lap. If that, I think it's probably maybe even less than a 10. We'll see the lap times pop up on the timing tower very soon. Chambers holding on to 10th place then. Hutchinson, Powell, Kitzman, then Becker, another 7.5 seconds back. But now, Kitzman will only just outscore Becker. It's pretty much out of the championship anyway, seeing that you missed the first 2 rounds. I doubt you'd be able to bring yourself back into the mix. 1.3. Bit of traffic being dealt with now. Surely the Evo SR cars won't mess each other around here. That is Tom Stevens, is it? He's just ahead of McMahon. That's not. It's someone a bit further down.
Copeland.
Yeah, and McMahon did lose less time there. It's down to a second here. Oh, we've got 2.5 minutes to go. We are going to have 2 more laps at the end of this one. And cast your mind back to 2 weeks ago, where it was Lee who was chasing down McMahon, made a mistake on the last lap at Mosport when going for the overtake, and denied himself his first race victory. It's the other way round now, and it's McMahon who's going to need to make the move.
He is indeed, and he's going to hope that he can do it a whole lot better than Daniel Lee managed to. But yeah, right, definitely within draft range now. Oh, Lee mounting the curb on the inside, trying to claim every bit of track he can to find a little bit of extra time. A 15.5, McMahon's fastest lap of the race, the fastest lap of anyone of the race. Just shows how much he's had in reserve on really worn tyres. Sure, the fuel's going to be pretty low at this point, but to be able to put a time like that in, that is sensational. A 9/10 He took out of Lee that time by. That is amazing. We're in for an absolute belter of the last 2 laps here, Sam.
0.7 of a second. It's been a good start to this lap for Powell. Apologies for Lee so far. 0.7 again. There's a bit of a drop for McMahon. It's going to come down to the last lap. Will he have an opportunity to go for a lunge? The gap at the moment is absolutely, it's staying pretty neutral at the moment. Not much of a gain for the EVSR car. You can see it for yourself. There's a little bit of traffic ahead. I don't think that's going to affect the mix as McMahon takes a lot of curb. Has he taken too much? Has he got a slowdown? I think he's all right, but it wasn't quite perfect. I think he had to turn into the corner on a couple of occasions. As we move on to the final lap of the race, Lee with his personal best lap of the race, and only just slower than the fastest lap. That is incredibly strong mental strength when he's going for his first race win and 120 points as well in the championship. But McMahon does take a little bit out of him through the first few corners, willing to take a bit more curb, cut the corners ever so slightly more, and it's down to 0.6, and this car is absolutely on rails. They call this place a roller coaster, and McMahon is dealing with the elevation change and with the left and right turns like a roller coaster right now. It's 6.5 of a second, but Lee runs a little bit wide, and it's down to 0.5 second, but McMahon's not going to have much of a run, surely. It's coming down, it's 4.5. Might get down to 4/10 by the time they get on the brakes. But as the timer takes over 80 minutes, there is surely no coming back from this. Daniel Lee, who had problems early on, he had to come into the pits early. Watch out for the couple of cars rejoining further up. But the pit stop was the perfect time for him. The safety car was the perfect time for him, but he's got a slow exit. Here comes McMahon right at the end. But it's still going to be Daniel Lee to take his first ever Apex Racing League GT win. What a fantastic performance from him. He got maybe a little bit lucky with the pit stop, but he made that decision knowing what the safety car would lead to. McMahon gave it everything, fastest lap of the race on the last lap, but he just could not catch enough in time. He had half an hour to do it. He just needed a few more seconds to finish it off. And Adam, that is about time. One of the most well-deserved victories we've seen in the league. He's been knocking on the door for a couple of seasons now, and that is the best way to break the ducks. It's nice that it wasn't a damp squib when he eventually won his first race. That was an absolutely epic victory.
He's driven it beautifully. I know we're supposed to stay impartial when it comes to commentating on drivers, but I'm absolutely delighted for him. He's deserved a race win for such a long time now. I've kind of felt bad for him, because I mean even I've got a win in this league. So for him not to have one, it's a shocker. But brilliant from him tonight. Tom McMahon once again. You can put his back up against the wall down an alleyway, and he'll still find a way to get lap times to put pressure on you and to be right there at the end. So brilliant drives from both of them. It's what an event and what a way to win.
Yeah, had to do it the hard way, and McMahon just didn't have enough. I don't think McMahon will feel disappointed. It was quite intermittent, the gap between them. Some laps Lee could match, and some laps McMahon could take a couple of tenths out of him, but all of those last few laps were in the 15s. As the track got cooler, the lap times were absolutely phenomenal, and of course as the fuel got a little bit lower as well, was some stellar competitive times right there. So in the first ever Apex Racing League GT endurance event, Daniel Lee is the victor. Maybe he'll become a master of these events. 1/10 of a second clear on McMahon. I really thought actually that when Lee made a mistake at the 10A and 10B that it might just open it up, but McMahon didn't quite have enough on him, but still extends his championship lead. McMahon, he is looking really dominant with 3 rounds of the championship to go. Jonas Bowden finished in a strong third, held off James Crouch. He finished a while back in the end. Something must have happened to Crouch, I can only imagine, which caused him to drop so far. James Stolt and Bob Humphrey make it a good day for EVSR with 3 drivers in the top 6. Chris van der Nesse finished in 7th. Then it was Taj Edwards, Luke McCowan, Mark Hutchinson, and Aaron Powell. Kevin Kitzman was top of the AM drives. Great result for him. Great result for his teammate Andrew Becker as well. Becker did miss the first 2 rounds of Challenge, but could still be in the hunt. Kitzman certainly put himself back into play as well. Max Wolf finishes in 14th. Then it was Tim Perry, Artur Godsick, Derek Holland, Tom Stevens, who didn't come into the pits. Matty Chambers with an awful end to the race. For him, he had a terrible last lap, I think, did Stevens. And so, yeah, dropped a...
Was he the car that was facing backwards as they come up the hill underneath the Suzuki bridge? There was a car turned round.
Yeah, he finished actually a lap down, did Chambers in the end. Didn't finish the... So I think that's a very good shout. John Chester was in 20th. Then it's Dean Powell, who really could have done a lot more there, Powell. He was right behind his teammate Daniel Lee with the pit stop. He went for the right strategy with Powell, yeah, he finishes in 21st place. A few issues on the restart for him. Alex Moore finished in 22nd. 14 places was more. Good job. Ryan Jones was in 23rd. And then behind that was John Gordon, Kev Copeland, Joseph Saw. I think only Joseph Saw scored points up to that range because Dennis Eipenberg finished 3 laps down, so I don't believe he'll score points, which is absolutely gutsing for him. Also, Adam Coles and Steve Brown didn't finish the race. Rob Winter, Emil Winbo, Daniel Suvi-Sabo, Callum Wright, Jensen Adriansons, Nick Brown, Tom Bingham, and Robert Lundgren not finish the race. So, time for a couple of chats with our drivers, and I'm very pleased I get to do this interview rather than Adam, because for the first time we drag in Daniel Lee first, because he has finished first. He gets his first race win in the league. Daniel, congratulations. You must be... We're really pleased that you got your first win on such an epic race. It would have been rubbish if it wasn't a well-deserved win, but that was properly great. Yeah, how are you feeling right now?
Yes! Boys, absolutely. On top of that, that was such a absolute... Well, you saw it. How can we come back from getting punted twice in the first half of that race to do that? The strategy was set up to take advantage of the safety car, but boy, it was hard. Tough. I've barely spoken on the stream. I've got guys on board with me, and just head in the game, absolutely silent, focused, concentrated. So what an amazing race that was.
Talk us through that early pit stop. What was your thinking with that?
Pit stop. We actually pitted. Well, I pitted maybe a couple of laps earlier than I probably could have done. Reason being, I knew that if I put it down to a lean map, I'd be able to make the remaining full tank stretch that remaining distance. So I really was hoping that the safety car would not come out too quickly after pitting. But once I'd taken on a full tank again, I had the fuel map turned down. I was just trying to catch up to the tail and get by. And that left me with enough fuel, just enough fuel to turn it up to full for the last half of the race.
So your early pit stop then, was that in preparation for the safety car, or was that just luck with the safety car?
Absolutely, with the safety car in mind. I knew there was there's like a 50-minute window where the safety car could have come out, and I wanted to get my pit stop done ASAP because I wanted to get track position when all the pit stops had been done, when people had filed in for their early stops and pitted for their forced stops when it ran out of fuel. I wanted to be taking advantage of all of that, and luckily it worked out that way. It was a plan well executed by me and Dean, so we're really happy with that.
You've already spoken a little bit about it, but those last 2 laps when you got held up behind a little bit of traffic, it seemed the gap was down below a second. Were you getting tight at all? I mean, were the muscles starting to get a little bit tight, starting to struggle to turn the wheel, or were you quite pleased with kind of how you dealt with that? Because you don't really know how you react in those pressure circumstances until you're in them.
Yeah, you really don't. I'm actually surprised at how clean that drive was. There was literally no mistakes all the way through. It was getting a little bit scruffy right at the end, and McMahon's relative counter just creeping closer and closer every lap. I knew that my setup wasn't exactly a a world record beating setup, but it was skinny as heck. So if he did catch up, we might have seen a really protracted battle, but I really had it nailed, and I'm just so glad. It came down to 2 tenths when we crossed the line. It couldn't be closer than that.
No, it couldn't be. 120 points is pretty nice for you. As long as I don't know how many off tracks you got. Actually, I'm now just looking. You got 12. That's good. I'm just saying above. Oh no, so you got 25. That's not too bad. In fact, actually, my screen's glitching out, so I don't even know how many you got. But not too bad, eh? But 110 points or whatever you've got, that will move you up into second place in the championship, if I'm not wrong, and brings you a little bit closer to Tom now as well. I mean, now that you've got that race win, and what's the aim for the rest of the championship? I mean, you've worked so hard for this now. What's next?
Keep it going. The pace has been creeping up, and you know what? In this grid of drivers, it's so close. You just need to be 0.1% faster on average pace to actually be toppling first and second. So I'm just going to keep it going. We're getting faster. We're not getting any slower. We're just getting better and better all the time. So this is not the last race win you'll ever see. I can guarantee that. We're going to be on it from here on out.
Awesome. Well, best of luck for that one, Daniel. Is there anyone you'd like to give thanks to?
Thanks to my wife, Claire, for being such a great support throughout all of this. She's the best cheerleader you could ask for. Shout out to Dean Powell, really good teammate. I think he had a hand to play here in holding up McMahon and defending as hard as he could. And shout out to mscienceuk.com for riding along with us. They love this stuff and they're a great bunch. So thank you to everybody involved and to you guys.
Awesome. Thanks for having a chat with us, Daniel, and congratulations.
Much. Cheers.
Daniel Lee there, your race winner for tonight. Adam, who are you going to talk with next?
He sounded very excited, didn't he? He enjoyed that. You know what? I'm going to have a little chat with a gentleman called Kevin Kitzman, who doesn't come very often, but a AM win tonight in the inaugural endurance round of the ARL GT. Another solid drive, 12th position, which is pretty good, all things considered. How did it go for you, Kevin? Talk us through it.
Where do I start? Okay, basically, the start went pretty well for us. Started in P10 because of the reverse grid. And right from the start, I was giving everything. Moved up to P5 pretty quick. Also, a bit of luck because people went off. Yeah, did pretty well, I would say, on maintaining the position. Yeah, we did struggle a little bit on the strategy, but when the safety car finally came out, yeah, we went in, dropped a little bit back, but was able to fight a little, yeah, a little more on track. Yeah, more people went off. Tried to save P10. Was pretty happy when no, I wasn't pretty happy. Yeah, of course you're happy when another contender goes off and you can pass him and go for P1 in your class. So all I did from this point was trying to keep my position, not do any mistakes, because my tires were screaming at that point, especially at the end. And I got a shout out really, Matty Chambers, Aaron Powell there at the end, because when we went down through the S's coming out of it, I almost lost my car and somehow saved it, but those people avoided me, and yeah, that's how I got P1 in the amateur class.
And we did see there was a few times they were battling pretty hard, and at one point you managed to get back past Matty Chambers towards the end of the race there. Just how difficult is it to kind of accept that these guys are coming through, but then try and figure out, well, how do I do this without losing a lot of time? What's your mindset when you see these type of guys approach you?
Oh, that's a good question. Basically, I know they're fast. I'm trying not to really stay in their way, but yeah, basically trying to give them a clean pass so don't create any trouble on track. But at the same time, I'm trying to keep up with them and yeah, basically get in a train with them and pull away from the guys behind. Yeah, that's that's all I would do. That's all I could do because they're pro drivers. They're way faster than me. I was struggling with the tires in the end, so yeah, trying to give them a clean pass without causing any trouble.
Well, you say they're way faster, but I'm actually really delighted, and Sam will back me up on this. I've said this quite a lot this season. Your progress from last season to this season has been amazing. Your overall positions have been a lot higher. Your consistency is a lot higher. Just your general pace is a lot quicker. How did you? This is a bit of a weird question, seeing we're coming up on insurance round and we're halfway through the season, but I haven't had a chance to ask you this before. How did you change your mindset coming into this season? Because you've made quite the improvement.
Last season, I only got beaten by, I think it was 4 points by my teammate Jensen. So I said, okay, this is the season where I really wanna go off and finish up front more often. And basically, what I do is we train a lot more, try out different lines, also try out different race conditions. So we're not only practicing on fast lap times, but also practicing how the race could turn out in the end with actual battles. And I'd actually say my improvement wasn't so huge compared to last season because I had a couple of bad races in the beginning. But 2 weeks ago at Mosport and now this race, they went pretty well for me. And it was all prep, and I hope I can continue this way. I'm definitely work hard for it, and maybe I'll end up in the top 3 this year in the amateur class.
Well, let's hope so. I know. Again, I shouldn't. I should be impartial, but I would like to see that, and the hard work is certainly paying off. Right, congratulations again on your amateur win tonight. Is there anybody you'd like to give any shout outs to before we let you go?
First of all, thank you for the kind words. Shout out. Basically my whole teammate, my whole team, the teammates, everybody in there. If I count every one of them, then we will sit here in like 20 minutes. I want to shout out my dad. I hope he's still watching because so far he watched every race of me. And my mom, she's also watching all the time. And that's all.
Always nice when the family get involved with your hobbies, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Absolutely. Well, Kevin, congratulations once again. We look forward to seeing you next week for the more regular sprint and feature race setup.
Thank you.
Kevin Kitzman. What a drive he did tonight, Sam. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it.
It was very impressive. Well done to him on that amateur class victory. I was just trying to figure out what the points were. I'll hopefully be able to give you a slight update after we've got the interviews finished. Our last interview, I think, is going to be with Tom McMahon. I get to chat with him once again, as I usually do, as the customary race winner. But it wasn't a race win tonight, Tom. It was a second place, but it was. You can't regret anything about that. At least from our seats, you put everything into that fastest lap after fastest lap. But Daniel just had enough.
Yeah, I gave it a good go. It was just the timing of the safety car. It was just one of those things that we'd progressed through the cars really, really well, and the whole strategy was always try and beat the safety car. And then I think I just got a bit greedy that I kind of was in a bit of clear air, and I didn't want to pit back into traffic, so I just wanted to put a few more clean laps in, and then when that safety car hit, I knew it was going to be a tough ask, then try and win. Luckily, I jumped Jonas and was able to hold him off, and those BMWs were quick in a straight line. But then, just gave it full beans, the last 15, 20 laps, just chasing Daniel down, but couldn't quite get him.
Yeah, I must say I compliment you on the fact that you were thinking about the safety car in that way, and I totally understand the logic of you just want those extra few laps, and you think, oh well, it won't come out in the next couple laps. What's the chance of it coming out in the next few laps? And then you get done by that. But that was very unlucky for you there. How was the track conditions changing as the race went on? Because is it just a case that there's no tire wear? Because obviously the track was getting cooler, which was helping out your times. But usually in these GTE cars, after an hour and a bit in the car with the tires, they do start to struggle quite a bit. And yet you and Daniel seem to be absolutely fine, and most of the drivers seem to be absolutely fine there. Is that like a new thing with the GTEs, or is it just that the track got so much quicker that it kind of it masked over the degrading tires?
I think a bit of both. Obviously, all the GTs got reworked for season 4, and they definitely have a new tire edge to them. So the first 2-3 laps, you can really feel it, but they just don't degrade as quick as they did previously. Previously, it was a marked half a second, 6-7 tenths over a stint. But then, as you said, the track was getting cooler, so I think there was a slight bit of tyre wear. But I also think fuel is a massive thing now. So as the fuel burns down, the cars, they just get quicker and quicker. So it's kind of almost if the track conditions stayed the same, you'd pretty much lap at the same times that you started your pace at. But with the track cooling down, it just came to us and lap times were tumbling, but Daniel's lap times just held on. But I just want to say a massive congrats to him, because he's been unlucky. He went for it last race, and he binned it on his own. But no, so if anyone was going to beat me, I'm glad it was him. So fair play to him.
We've got some fun races now to end the season. We've got Imola and Nürburgring to replicate Formula 1 schedule, and also Interlagos, which be a good end to the season.
Yeah.
You looking forward to those rounds, or are your favourite circuits kind of gone past now on the calendar?
Imola would be my favourite. I'm actually taking part in a 24-hour karting race next weekend, so I might be a bit fragile before Imola. But yeah, Nürburgring, I'm not a huge fan, but we can make it work. Interlagos, never been a massive fan of it, but we'll put the groundwork in, and yeah, hopefully, I think I should be doing okay, in the championship standings now. So more a case of one eye on that and consolidate, and don't do anything stupid.
Yeah, I think so. I've nearly got these points ready. I really want to tell you what the point system is, but I haven't quite done it. I had to redo quite a bit of it. But no, well done, Tom, on your second position and your extension of the championship lead as well. Is there anyone you'd like to give shouts out to?
Just the usual crew, so all the EVSR guys in the community and the league community who are getting involved with all the practice sessions. It really does make it feel like a big event, which is awesome. The build-up is mega, and of course you guys for the stream, the organization, everything that goes into it. We, as a team, we love this league, so yeah, thank you so much, and carry on doing what you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tom, and we will see you back very soon.
Yep. Take it easy, guys. Cheers.
Just got the points. So Daniel does score 115. He only got, I think, 12 instants. Very few drivers got instants, or many instants. I mean, I was expecting James Salt level of 47 instants in a race. But that does mean that McMahon still leads with 431 points. Lee with 356, and then Crouch, Eichenberg. Eichenberg only drops down to fourth despite scoring no points in that one, such as the drop score, I believe. And then Humphrey, Van Den Nesse, Salt, and Bowden. In fact, maybe it's that Berg? I don't know if that was hype, but we'll see. But yeah, next up, Adam, we have got Nürburgring coming up, which will be what can we expect from that round? I mean, that's a circuit that I think most drivers got a lot of experience around. It's a circuit that divides opinion. Apologies, we've got Imola next up, so we'll talk about Imola. Imola, that doesn't divide opinion. Everyone loves Imola. I don't know about you, but I think that's a superb circuit. And it could be tricky to overtake around that circuit because we've only got the one long straight, and apart from that, it's all very narrow.
I wasn't a fan of Imola when I first started driving. I found it was just one of those tracks that I didn't get the flow right until I drove it in the McLaren GT3, and now I love the place. I don't know what it was about that car and track combo that made me kind of click into it, but yeah, it's a fun track. It is very tricky to overtake. It's very easy to get collected in other people's mistakes. There's a lot of dusty areas that you get a wheel out on a piece of AstroTurf or a little bit of the grass, and all of a sudden you're going into what seems to be a long way away to a wall. It's all of a sudden right on top of you. It's very tricky, very hard to race hard with other cars around you. It'll be fun to see how this lot kind of deal with it. We've seen them in tight, twisty tracks before, and it seems to have gone okay. But we know they're only moments away from a big one at a track like that. So fingers crossed it's a clean one, but it should be good fun racing nevertheless.
Yeah, really looking forward to visit that cycle. Of course, the final 3 rounds of the championship we've not visited in Apex Racing League GT history or American GT or British GT. So should be nice to sample a few circuits over the next few weeks. We will be back with you at Imola then. If you've enjoyed or if you want to take part in this championship, sign up. Go to apexracingleague.com and you can check out the Touring Car Championship we've got. We've also got the Porsche Cup Championship as well, which is going to be starting in about a week and a half's time. And then we've also got the GT Championship, and there's going to be an option to be able to sign up for the last 3 rounds of the season. So if you want to sign up, have a bit of fun, and also maybe think about whether you want to take part next season as well, certainly do recommend that. Go to apexracingleague.com in order to sign up for any events that we are holding. If you've enjoyed this video, please do leave a like on it. We really appreciate it, and subscribe to Apex Racing TV. I was looking earlier on about the amount of streams. I think there was another esports network stream going on, and there was another Apex Racing TV stream going on. So thank you for tuning in. If you have and sticking with us throughout the event, it certainly was worth it over the course of that 80-minute race. So if you're on the esports network, subscribe to the esports network, but in particular, subscribe to Apex Racing TV. And if you're on Apex Racing TV, subscribe to Apex Racing TV and leave a like on the video. And also check out our social media as well on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's Apex Racing TV. You can search in any of those social media sites. But for now, from me, from Adam, and from Sam, we're going to say goodbye. And it is finally a first race win for Daniel Lee. Can he back it up at Imola? We'll see you back in 7 days' time. See you then.